I think that should be a concern for everyone.
Elon Musk talked about this concern that directly affects Tesla if it does go wrong. This is also actually one of my biggest concerns about Tesla stock. So let's get into it. We'll start with something that relates to it, and then we'll dig deeper into that specific issue.
You know, before I wrap on Tesla, I would like to get to China, which is obviously an important market for you. You know, I noticed that chart you put up. BYD is the only company that seems to be making money so far. Are you concerned at all about you know, ruthless pricing sort of at the low end in the Chinese market and what that will mean to your market share there?
Well, currently a limitation is the production rate of our Shanghai factory. It's not demand. So, I mean, so that's there's some constraints on our ability to expand in China, and so we're making as many cars as we can. It's not a demand issue.
And you're going to be making batteries soon as well.
Yes. For the mega pack, for mostly for non-US markets.
A few days ago, we actually learned that Tesla applied for an expansion of Giga Shanghai. Tesla has applied to expand the factory by about 40% and up its production from 1.25 million to 1.75 million powertrain units per year. But this is where Tesla is creating some controversy. Tesla also applied to begin pouch cell production at the factory. I say that this is a controversial development because Elon before said that the thermal runaway is dangerously high with large pouch cells. Tesla strongly recommends against their use, and yet Tesla applied to produce these exact cells as well. But if we read the article just a little bit further, the mystery disappears because Tesla only applied to have an annual capacity of 20,000 amp hours, about the size of a single battery pack in one of their long-range vehicles. This is just a test. Tesla constantly experiments and develops new technologies, and this is just one of those things. This is nothing serious, really.
Are you concerned at all about the growing belligerence between China and the U.S.?
I think that should be a concern for everyone.
I think you're right. I think it is shared by many people who run large organizations and smaller ones. Do you think, for example, China will make a move to take control of Taiwan?
The official policy of China is that Taiwan should be integrated. One does not need to read between the lines. There's some inevitability to the situation.
That would not be good for Tesla, conceivably, or for any company in the world, frankly.
Yes, for any company in the world. I think almost no one realizes that the Chinese economy and the rest of the global economy are like conjoined twins. It would be like trying to separate conjoined twins. That's the severity of the situation. It's actually worse for a lot of other companies than it is for Tesla. I mean, I'm not sure where you're going to get an iPhone, for example. I mean, Apple's recently started doing some sort of small amount of production in India, but it's tiny compared to...
It's tiny, not to mention an advanced semiconductor chip if they take over Taiwan Semi.
Correct.
I mean, you design your own chips, but you manufacture them at Taiwan Semi too, right?
We do Samsung and TSMC, but
but you seem to think it's likely to happen.
I'm simply saying that is their policy. And I think you should take their word seriously.
As a Tesla stock investor, this is the thing that I worry about the most, really. Everything else, for the most part, Elon Musk has under control, or he can improve or change if he only works a little bit smarter and if he really focuses. But preventing a conflict between two countries, I don't know if Elon really has direct control of that. Interestingly, Tesla is meeting Indian officials this week, especially now that Tesla is going to be launching the next generation vehicle in a relatively near future. And now that we have cut the prices of the Model 3 and the Y by quite a bit, it may make sense to start expanding in India. But before, Tesla wanted to test out the market by asking for lower import taxes, but Indian officials said, no, you have to pay them in full, which can be as high as 100%. So if you sell a vehicle for $50,000, the actual price to consumer is going to be $100,000. The Prime Minister of India is also coming to the US in June, so perhaps Elon is going to meet him. And now that Elon is going to be spending more time on Tesla instead of Twitter, Elon will have more time to meet with people like the Prime Minister of India, and to perhaps get a better deal for Tesla. It appears that there is some progress being made because Tesla did meet with the officials from India just now, and actually Tesla proposed to build a factory in India. Tesla did not discuss lower import taxes with Indian officials, but it proposed setting up a new factory, albeit without specifying a location or investment. And that makes sense because if you produce a next generation vehicle and you can sell for $25,000, it will sell anywhere in the world. Right now, India's economy is pretty small, but it is growing very fast. And it is going to be an important market for Tesla in the long term.
And I am curious now, and Tesla investors sort of seem to rejoice at the announcement of a new CEO at Twitter in part because they thought, well, he's going to have more time for Tesla.
That's true.
Is it true? How do you see sort of allocating your time now that you will soon no longer be the CEO?
It was really a very, very challenging situation at the point at which the Twitter acquisition closed because, in rough terms, there was $1.5 billion of debt servicing that was added, while at the same time there was a massive cycling.
Yeah, you said you were 4 months away from bankruptcy. You're going to lose $3 billion in a year, conceivably.
Negative $3 billion cash flow and had $1 billion in the bank.
Yeah. No, that's not good.
No.
Anybody who knows anything about corporate finance knows that's bad.
No, I mean, I'd say like the analogy I was using was it's like being teleported into a plane that's in a nosedive, headed to the ground with the engine's on fire and the controls don't work. That's what it felt like.
You chose to get into the plane.
Well, I did try to exit the deal, and they wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let,
I mean, it was a funny situation where when I first proposed the acquisition, they said, hell no. They adopted a poison pill, basically saying they'd rather die than be acquired. Like they'd rather chew on cyanide. And then a few months later, they're like basically have a gun to my head saying, no, you must acquire us. Yeah. I mean, that's quite a change.
It is quite a change. But you seem to think, I can figure out a way out of this until finally, I guess you realized I can't.
It was made clear to me that the decision would not come down in my favor legally.
Yeah.
Here's exactly what happened to Elon when he bought Twitter, or when he first attempted to buy Twitter. He tried to back out, he couldn't, he fell flat on his face, but then he took over, and that worked out quite well. Twitter is now very close to break even, and Elon is going to show them all how it is really done. He laid off so many people that I think a lot of these tech executives are really jealous of Elon. How are you able to run this tech company with so few people?
Well, now you have a new CEO.
Yes. Why? I think Linda Yaccarino is going to be great.
Why?
Twitter is very much an advertising-dependent business. Linda is obviously incredible at that, and she's just a great executive in general. My skills and interests are in technology. I'll continue to play a role advancing the software and getting the features and product stuff basically. Right. I mean, the general idea is Linda will operate the company, and I will build products.
Yep.
And I think that's a good.
And that will take less of your time.
Yeah, and I have that situation at SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
Gwynne Shotwell, who's right. Amazing,
yep.
Operates the company, and I work on the sort of advanced technology.
Right.
Sort of designing the new rockets and that kind of thing. And that's everyone should play to their strengths, and that's mine.
I think I speak for all of us Tesla stock investors when I say we are very happy that Twitter has a new CEO. Now, if we just look at Twitter's mission and what Elon Musk is trying to accomplish with that, the conversation starts to change a little bit, perhaps. Patrick Bet-David, who is an independent, but he does lean closer, I think, to the right, he did this poll, and only a few of his followers said that this hire is a good hire. Quite a few say it's a bad hire, but the majority of the people say, let's wait and see, which is my position. Even if on the surface this may not look like a perfect hire for Elon, ultimately it is Elon's decision, and Elon has proven to be capable of making decisions that at first may confuse everyone. And then later it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you did there, Elon. Launching and building these rockets seemed impossible, and now it's trivial to see a launch being successful. That's
true, although I wonder, in 2021 you said you spent most of your time on the development of Starship. I think
Yes.
you've also been quoted, I read, or I think I heard you say actually, most of your mental energy at certain points has been on Starship.
Yes.
So I wonder, have you been diverted from Starship a little bit and will return to it as the main focus, or is it Tesla? You know, again, your time, I know, having tried to schedule this interview with you.
Yeah, time triage is a real thing for me.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd say that the only real currency is time. Time is the only true currency.
So where are you going to spend the currency now that you don't have to spend as much at Twitter?
Well, I'm going to be devoting a lot more time to Tesla,
Okay.
and especially on the AI development and new product development. And then and I'll also be allocating some more time to getting Starship to orbit. In the case of SpaceX, what I was able to do there was to, as the Starlink constellation started working, I was able to move some of the best people from the Starlink program to the Starship program. So they were, you know, the timing kind of worked out well. I mean, we have really some of the world's best engineers at SpaceX and Tesla, really some incredible human beings.
As a Tesla stock investor, that's all I want to hear. Elon spending more time at Tesla. I know no matter how bad things get, just because we have Elon, these things are not going to be nowhere near as bad as they first appeared to be.
There was some statistic you shared, I think 3.6 million people applied for a job at Tesla.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of demand.
They are. So, you have 127, almost 128,000 employees, but 3.6 million people applying for a job in a year.
Yes, and I mean, there's, you know, we would only add like say 20 or 30,000 jobs. So it's sort of the acceptance rate for Tesla is it's much more difficult to get into Tesla or SpaceX than Harvard. The acceptance rate is
even lower.
It's
Or Stanford too.
Well, yeah, it's the acceptance rate is lower than the most demanding universities in the world.
It is very simple, really. If you have the best people, and also if your organization remains nimble and agile and makes changes quickly, and it feels a lot like a startup instead of a big, slow organization, you will keep winning.
You had 7,800 people at Twitter when the plane was nosediving. I think you're at 1,500 now.
That's
so
correct.
roughly 6,300 people. Were they all superfluous?
No, not all.
So, do you figure out which ones aren't, or is it a little late? You know, sometimes it gets a little late.
I mean, look, desperate times call for desperate measures. So there's no question that some of the people who were let go probably shouldn't have been let go because we simply did not have the time to figure out. We had to be, you know, make widespread cuts to get the burn rate under control. So. You know, and so this is not to say that, hey, everyone who is let go from Twitter is like somehow terrible or something. It's just we have to, with very little information, get the headcount expenses and the non-personnel expenses down to where we're at least break even. And we're not quite at break even yet, but we're close. We need to do it fast. And if you do it fast, unfortunately, there are going to be some babies thrown out with the bathwater. So I definitely would not want to say, disparage, anyone who's left.
But it's funny, you know, I've heard from other tech CEOs quietly. They look at what you did at Twitter, and they won't admit it publicly, but they say, wow, that was something. I mean, to cut that deeply and still be able to run the company. People will argue about how well or things are running. Have you heard from any of these CEOs who said, thank you for doing that, giving us sort of runway or leeway to at least make some cuts of our own?
I've heard that from a few people, and I've heard that through the grapevine, yeah. But like I said, if desperate times call for desperate measures, and unfortunately those were desperate times.
So do you see will Linda hire people, do you think? Or are you ready for people to be hired at Twitter?
Yeah, no, I think we absolutely need to hire people, and if they're not too mad at us, probably rehire some of the people that we let go.
You gotta love that laugh. And in this video, I share my thoughts about Tesla starting to advertise. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.